These are the 5 things that I wish I knew before retiring early. This is going to benefit anyone who's recently retired or you're looking to retire early. The first is that none of your friends, family, or peers are going to be retired. Being retired early often means that you're the only one who's doing what you've done. Mostly everyone has work or they're raising kids. They have a very structured and routinized life that they have to participate in. You're living in a completely different reality than them, and that can feel isolating. I didn't expect that feeling. Part of it is because you don't have anyone to spend time with during the day, but the other reason is because you have less in common with people who are still working or raising a family. And that's the part that can be isolating and lonely. It's really the moment that you realize that you have to create a new routine and structure for yourself. In other words, you need to build new connections with people, and you may even need to find a new purpose, a new way to spend your time. Because especially if you've retired early, you are ideally going to be healthy and have more to give to life. You've just got to find that outlet. In my case, I retired almost 20 years early. It's a huge blessing. I've worked really hard to get to this point. And I didn't think enough about what I would do after I climbed the mountain. If you're in the spot of potentially retiring early soon, you'll want to give that some time about what you're going to do when you're done working, who you're going to spend your time with, what you're going to spend your time doing, and how you're going to occupy your time and attention so that you can potentially avoid feeling isolated and lonely. The second thing I wish I knew before retiring early is that it's quite a shock to not have a routine and structure any longer. It's like going from 60 to 0 in an instant. And that's because for 20, 30, 40 years, you knew exactly how you were spending your time, what you were doing for almost every single minute of the day. And then all of a sudden that comes to a stop. You were going to school, you were commuting, you were going to work, you were taking care of your family, you were cooking dinner. All of those things had to happen at a certain time. And so you had very little to say about what you did and when. But in retirement, you spend every hour exactly how you want because there's nowhere you have to be. You have no responsibilities that you need to meet. And in my case, it in fact became really hard to keep appointments that I had set. I tried consulting and I even joined a board, and it became really hard for me to remember to attend some of those meetings because I was no longer tied to my calendar. I didn't have a need to look at my calendar every single day and make sure that I knew exactly where I needed to be. So I just got out of that routine and habit. Not having that predetermined schedule and routine is the moment that you realize that you get to design the exact life that you want, how you want to spend your time, who you want to spend it with, and what you want to be doing. And it's not just that you get to do that, but you have to do that, because how else are you going to spend the rest of your days? The third thing that I wish I knew before retiring early is just how much joy the small things in life would bring. It's such a different context to be able to get to do things versus having to do things, even things like cooking, because you can do them on your own time, on your own schedule, and exactly how you want. There's nothing that's requiring you to do them on a certain schedule. Suddenly things like a slow morning, taking a walk, even doing errands become joyful because you get to take your time. You're also not distracted while you're doing these things. You're also not having to multitask. So you can put your full attention into the very thing that you're doing. And that's when you start to see that living has never really been about ambition or being really busy. It's about finding joy in those everyday moments. The fourth thing that I wish I knew before retiring early is just how guilty I would feel. When you're doing something that nobody else is doing, being retired years ahead of everyone else, and you're waking up without an alarm, you're running errands midweek, taking slow mornings, it can really stir up emotions, frankly, that are negative that you didn't expect. I felt bad, even guilty, that I had so much luxury in my day and so much time to do whatever I wanted, when that's just not the reality for most people. And I really had to accept that this feeling of guilt and a little bit of sadness was actually part of the territory. While every single day is very joyful the guilt, it's like a survivor's guilt, is actually part of it, and that's totally normal. It's okay. So just be prepared for when you retire early for those negative emotions to stir up. And there's nothing bad about that. There's nothing wrong. It's just part of the territory. The fifth thing I wish I knew before retiring early is just how immense the sense of peace and joy is in everyday life. Imagine not needing to multitask or to rush somewhere or to have to do something. And what happens when that's absent is a sense of peace and calm is just there. You don't have to work for it, or it's not a reward after a really long and busy week. It's just everyday life, which is absolutely crazy because that's just not how we live. When peace and calm and joy is just part of your everyday life, it makes you think, my goodness, like this is really how life really should just be. And that is just, it's amazing. And the important thing here is if you get to retire early, ideally your body is more healthy. So this sense of peace and calm, you'll just get to enjoy it more fully because you'll be better able to actually take advantage of it. And that was a completely unexpected benefit of me retiring early and healthy. Just makes me so glad that in my 20s and 30s, I prioritized being healthy and my financial well-being, as well as my financial legacy, so that I could enjoy this, because I just had no idea how amazing it was going to feel. The big takeaway from this video is that while there's going to be a lot of positivity in retiring early, there might be some unexpected negative emotions or even tough parts that you have to get through in terms of feeling a little bit isolated and lonely. But just know that it's part of the territory. If you can anticipate it, then you can plan ahead, find ways where you can avoid some of those negative aspects. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hit subscribe and like this video if you want to support my channel and see more content like this. Thanks for watching. Bye.